right, we're live again. Sorry, guys. So that's the first time that's happened. So we're actually closed right now, and we didn't have the door locked, and somebody came in and was inquiring about tattoos, and I was like, I got kind of embarrassed. So, but yeah, so like that probably teaches us a lesson. It's Friday night, right? So people are going to be more likely to want to come in. Yeah. We're an appointment-only shop, and but yeah, we still get walk-ins.
Well, also the door technically still says you.
Yeah, so we just got our doors tinted. We used to have a sign on there that said appointment only, and then we got our doors tinted, and you can't see the sign anymore. So, hopefully. So I'll let everybody fill in here again. What's up, everyone? Come on in. Sorry. I'll tell the story again once everybody gets back in what happened. But like I said, we're in a tattoo studio, and but it's a private studio and it's after hours. And but yeah, we still had somebody walk in inquiring about a tattoo, and I got kind of embarrassed. So I'll keep painting until everyone gets in. They were telling me after, like, Faith and Alex were saying I should have just left it rolling. You guys could hear me talk to that guy. But I didn't know if I was going to talk to him for half an hour. You guys don't want to hear me in the background? But he had some really cool tattoo ideas. So we're also going to start live streaming tattoos soon. Once we get that sorted out, how to do that. I think we're going to tattoo Alex and Faith, and we're going to live stream both of those. And you guys can see that process as well. I won't be able to talk so much in those live streams. I can talk a little, but as you can see, if I talk, I'm using my hands a lot, and it's hard for me to stay focused. So we got 12 people. Everybody filling back in. Jamie Ferguson says, how's everything going? What's up, Jamie? Yeah, again, for those of you that just came back, sorry about the broken stream. We had an unexpected visitor that was inquiring about a tattoo. And because I thought we were closed and I thought the door was locked, I was a little bit startled, so I killed the stream. For those of you that don't know, Skateboard Channel is Alex. He's our apprentice here. So I didn't think of that when we were going to do Friday nights. Friday nights where we are is really popping. So there's a lot of people on the streets. A lot of people walking around, and even though we're a private studio, some days we get more visitors. Like tomorrow, it's going to be like tons of visitors. So there's no way I could stream on a Saturday. During the week is easier, but most people are at work, including me. Alex, Jamie says, what's good? So if you guys have any conversations, anything you want to talk about, any questions or whatever, post them up. So if you guys are in here, go ahead and give us the like button. It'll help fill up the stream. If you just go ahead and like and comment and say how you're doing, let us know you're here. That way we can get more people in here hanging out with us today, this evening. What's up? Brazil in the house. Giovanni, what's up, man? So Simtech wants to know the subscription to the Patreon. It is patreon.com/Ryan Townsend, I believe. How big is this painting? Well, there's my hand for reference. I think it's, how big is this? 18 by 24? It's huge. No, it's not that huge. It's, you know, there's my hand. It's pretty big. 18 by 24, I want to say.
It sounds, you know, it's kind of like, I'm not good with measurements.
It won't let you what now? Oh. So here with us today, we got Alex hanging out. Haley just walked in. She's hanging out with us. Okay. That's all right. We won't worry about it right now. So if you guys are just joining us right now, what I'm working on is the,
So that'll be like whenever.
this is the underpainting portion of the painting. So it's just pretty much mapping everything out, trying to figure out where all the pieces go.
And now I'm like, you can't do that when you do this. I don't actually know how that works. Oh, do you have the Google Map down with you? Like there's an app? Yeah, the calendar app.
I use a different calendar. Google Calendar?
Yeah.
I think I have to use it as a calendar.
So download that and then
Okay.
just attach it to your regular Gmail account. You might have to download the app though.
Oh, I have that.
Yeah.
It's just very faint.
Oh, yeah.
No, you just with the microphone.
All right. So we got Haley, Alex, and Faith all hanging out in here. Watching the stream, watching us hang out. How's everybody doing? So, again, if you guys are just joining us, we're hanging out in my tattoo studio right now. Just painting,
I'll let you make the
sharing it, letting y'all kind of join us. So have many of you seen the other, Simtex says party time. Yeah. That's what's cool about doing these YouTube live streams is they're kind of casual. Like a lot of times we drink and hang out and have like a paint party or whatever, you know, we try not to be too formal about it. Kind of just letting y'all see what really goes on when we're in here painting and just hanging out. But yeah, if y'all have any questions, just go ahead and post them up. I'd be happy to answer them for you.
So technically, there would be Ryan and Alex with you know, like enough to start with the tattoo, but just didn't know if that's what
Jamie says hi, Haley.
Hi.
She
Animal face again.
says hi, Jamie.
Is there
What beer do I have this week? Actually, I'm not drinking beer this week.
Your calendar.
Faith and I are trying to, we're trying to, like a cleanse, I guess you could say. Gonna see how that goes. So we're not drinking at all. We're not doing gluten. We're not doing dairy. We're not doing any allergens really. Just to see how our bodies react to kind of a cleanse, I suppose. We just started that a few days ago. So healthy eating. Don't worry, I'll be back on it soon. I'm actually going to get back in. I'm going to try to start biking into work. But I need to get my bike fixed because I haven't used it in a long time. They want to know if this is an original image. It's not an original image. It's actually a reference. Here's the reference. I'm kind of moving it in frame a little bit. This is from a photographer. I need to look up her name because I can never... Let me see if I can remember her name. Hold on just a second. Ruki? Rekii. Photography. And she spells it... how does she... Photography. Photography. But yeah, no, I found this and I ended up sending her a DM on Instagram and asking if I could paint from her photography, and she said yes, so that's what we're doing. Oh, yeah. That it's still essential to, or making alcohol essential. I can see that because it probably, well, I guess in theory it would have kept us from riding, but I guess it didn't. Can you imagine how the riots would be if they didn't let us drink? That's the first thing that would have gone. I think that's the only thing that kept anyone sane during the lockdown is that we could drink. I think everyone became an alcoholic. That's kind of why Faith and I are doing the cleanse, is because during the lockdown, I think we did so much drinking that it's time for give our bodies a break. All right, let's give that a wash. Knock that back. So Skateboard Channel just posted up the name of the photographer who took this photo originally. She's amazing. I love her work. I was very inspired by it. I like to take photographers that inspire me a lot. I paint from their work, and then I try to see what I can do to incorporate that into my personal art. So and it's not. I take many different influences. That's what I did when I did that Noir bike that you guys saw that was like kind of black and white, kind of old Hollywood style. There was a photographer that gave me a lot of inspiration, and so I painted a few of his photos and kind of learned, I guess, the techniques behind it and the theory behind it. And then Faith and I did our own versions of it, and then I painted from that. And then that's how I learn. I just kind of take other artists and I study them. Like, I don't just reference artists that are in tattoos or in airbrush. I reference people that are in all different styles of art. And then I see what they can do to teach me and how I can incorporate that into my own artwork. So yeah, the next painting I think I'll do, the next fine art piece that I do, I think we're gonna go ahead and do our own photo references. But I really like the mermaid theme. Like, we live in Florida now, and it's this area of Florida is very mermaid uh, culture. Like the mer tailor is from here. A lot of women get like the tailored mermaid tails, and they swim because all the water's clear, and we've got clear springs out here. So there's a lot of mermaid photography out here, and so I was thinking about kind of getting into that kind of mermaid culture because I've always been interested. In fact, one of my first tattoos is a big tattoo of a mermaid. I think I got interested in that kind of thing when I did my original tattoo apprenticeship when I was about 21, 22 years old. I remember my teacher had this drawing that he did of a mermaid. It was a mermaid kind of clutching an anchor, and I was just fascinated by it, and I've been fascinated by mermaids ever since. I just thought it was such a neat drawing, and so I would always draw mermaids, so I don't know, and kind of wanting to revisit that. That's why I got the tattoo of a mermaid, is because I just thought they were fascinating. If you guys have ever been to Las Vegas, I think it's in, where is it? I think it's in Treasure Island. There's a big sculpture of a mermaid behind one of the bars that's super, super amazing.
I might just make a,
Yeah, Syntech, this is actually going to be a tutorial. It'll be kind of a tutorial in the sense that like I'll edit it all together and talk over it and let you all know all the different pieces of my process. But it won't be a straightforward tutorial in the sense that I kind of pre-decided what I should do. I'm kind of making up my technique as I go. So this is everything that I'm doing right now is kind of I've never done it this way before. I'm just making it up. It's all experimental. That's why I think the tutorial will probably be a lot about, you know, using your creativity and your knowledge from other types of art that you've done and being more experimental. In fact, I just watched a kid talk the other day. It was one of those TED Talks, and he talked about how sometimes you should stop learning and start thinking. And the idea behind that is sometimes you learn more from just kind of isolating yourself and just really, really getting into your own creativity and your own mind and seeing what you can come up with rather than asking for other, like, I guess, lessons from instructors or whatever. And you come up with some pretty interesting things. And I'm kind of going through that process right now where there's, like I said, I don't have a theory behind this yet. I'm just kind of filling it out and kind of thinking about it as I go. Like when I do the black and white paintings, the monochromatic stuff, I definitely know. I have a very, very specific theory behind all that, and each step is well thought out and well tested. But I came up with all those steps doing this right here, just kind of being experimental. What's up, Easy Airbrush? All right, Simtech, take it easy, man. Have a good night. How do I transfer the image to the panel? I print it off on a real big piece of paper, and I take some graphite and I rub the graphite on the back of it, and then I trace it down onto the panel using a graphite transfer. The other way I do it is I'll do like a cut paper stencil. That's another way I do it, and then sometimes I just freehand it. Just depends on, I don't know, what I'm doing, I guess. You guys can see I sometimes do a mix of like freehand and following a stencil. I do it all like, as you can imagine, like this stuff back here is a whole lot of freehand because there's so much going on. You kind of have to just make it up as you go a little bit. Yeah, David's Unexpected Friday stream. Kind of just hanging out. We had some time. I thought I'd turn on the camera and see if you guys wanted to hang out with us. Plus, I need an excuse to work on this painting, because I need to get it done. For some reason, it's easier for me to stay on target or on task when I'm live streaming. I feel like you guys are hanging out, so I don't know. Keeps me from taking too many breaks. Like when it's just me by myself painting, I spend a lot of time just pacing back and forth. Waste a lot of time. One time I did a video, if you guys remember, there's a video I did of, it was on a bobber oil bag. I did I did a full tutorial on it here on YouTube. It was a woman looking sideways, and there was some filigree around her, and it was on the oil tank of a bobber, and it was kind of noir style. Well, I remember I spent 2 days painting that, and anyway, my brother ended up editing that video, and when I gave it to him, he goes, "Man, you've gotten so fast." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Man, you remember how you were so slow? You're so much faster." I was like, no, I'm not. And he actually, when he edited it, he found out I only painted it for 2 hours. So I spent 2 days to do actually 2 hours worth of work because I was so distracted. That's kind of an interesting experiment for everyone. Just kind of like put a camera down and see how much actual time you spend working, as opposed to just kind of pacing around or looking at your phone or whatever. One good thing about doing tattoos is you don't really have a chance to be distracted because your client is sitting there going through it with you, and they're paying for your time, so you don't really have the option to pace around and be lazy, really. Let's see. So, INB42 says, after many years of wanting to learn, I finally tattooed myself a couple days ago. After a couple months of practicing, I made this big realistic rose and it came out awesome. Oh, great. So you teaching yourself or you got an apprenticeship? Nothing against teaching yourself. I know a lot of people that have done that. But yeah, that's awesome. So my apprentice keeps asking, he wants to tattoo himself, and I'm like, no, don't do it. Because I tattooed myself and I hate it. So I'm like, no, let's just keep practicing, man. You don't have to do that. But I'm glad it came out great. That's awesome. Mine didn't come out that great. Mine came out pretty bad. It was I did a Von Dutch flying eyeball on my knee, and it was not not a good. And it's actually my mentors. I had two mentors at the time, and they both like insisted I tattoo myself. They were like they was like saying it was like a rite of passage or something, and I was like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'll do it. And I was like, this is dumb. This is terrible. It hurt. It didn't look good. I wasn't learning anything. I was learning how to be in pain. So when my apprentice was wanting to do that, I was like, nah, man, don't. I mean, you can if you want to. I just don't do it by my advice. But I know like Cory St. Clair's been learning to tattoo for the past year, and he tattoos his own leg a lot, and he's doing a really good job. This part is interesting. We're still in frame there? Yeah. So when doing a painting like this, I kind of like, I try not to put any expectations on time or anything like that. I just kind of just paint almost kind of in a relaxing way. Oh, Hater again. Man, Hater, you awesome, dude. So Hater got a super chat, Faith.
Yay!
Hater says that I should make my... Alex, you in here? Hater says you should tattoo your forehead instead. Yeah, left-handed. All right. What surface? This is just a piece of metal I got from Coast Airbrush. It's just an airbrush panel. I think it's 18 by 24, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a Coast Airbrush paint panel, basically. So Hater just sent a super chat. For those of you that don't know what a super chat is, I didn't know before I started live streaming. A super chat is basically a tip system that YouTube has built in to the comments. So if you guys like what I'm doing here and you want to see more of it, and then you can do a super chat. Hater just super chatted $20. That's awesome. And yeah, it's just it helps us out. We use it to buy supplies and buy beer and food and make a party out of it, you know. Although we're not on beer today, so so you're just supporting the stream, and we thank you. So if you guys want to be alerted, I know I'm doing this like impromptu, like, last minute stream. So if you guys want to be alerted to when I stream, if you like and subscribe to the stream, I think if you hit the bell icon, then you'll get a notification every time we stream. And it's very, like you can already see, it's very informal. You know, sometimes we're partying, painting. Sometimes I'm hanging out with some friends and we talk about artwork. Or sometimes we're just drinking and painting, but we always try to keep it kind of informal, keep it, share some information, let you guys have fun with it, see the real version of me, I guess, even though my instructional videos are still me, but yeah, you get to see what I'm like in person, I guess. It's always funny whenever I'm at SEMA or something like that and I meet some of you guys out there that watch my videos. It's good to finally get to like see and hear from you guys in real time. Well, this airbrush is clogged. So right now I'm painting like a little suds bubble from the Seafoam that's rushing over her head. This is definitely where the freehand stuff comes in. You know, there's no guidelines for this, just kind of sticking to the reference and you know, watching it kind of take shape, kind of tiptoeing into the reference a little bit. I always like when my paintings look like paintings. Like, I used to do, I think, or maybe I still do, I don't know, like more realism, which I might do in this one, I don't know. I never set out for a certain look, I just end up with a certain look. But I always like for my paintings to, in the end, I like them to look like a painting and not like a photograph, even though I think they often do look like photographs. That's again one of the reasons why I freehand so much, I think. Right now I'm trying to get all that texture from the stone of, well, no, that's sand actually. It's not stone. So the rock has sand below it, and I'm just kind of building up a texture. I'm just mimicking what I see the best that I can. Oh, we got another super chat from Hater. Damn, dude. Yeah, thanks, man. We appreciate it. Hater always with the super chats. Thanks, man. We appreciate that so much. So if you guys have any questions or anything you want me to cover or talk about, I'd be happy to. Just post them up in the comments. Last Sunday, we had Brady here, and he was helping keeping the conversation going. Brady's an old friend of mine from college, and he came out to Florida here to visit, and then we ended up getting rained out, so we spent most of the time here in the tattoo studio just kind of doing art stuff. And yeah, so he hung out, and we had a good time. We painted a Hanya mask. That was a lot of fun. There, you see I kind of get that sand texture, just these little circles to just build over layer and layer, 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 layer. See, just little baby circle, 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 circle. Just build it up, 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 build it up. So I'm just keeping my air consistent, my air pressure, and I'm just keeping it consistent, just building these little circles. Circle, 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 circle. And in the end, it'll look like sand. Kind of. I'm using a green underpainting. I'm experimenting to see how that affects all of the colors that go on top of it. I think it'll be kind of neat. So far, these little circles are working really well. Like it really does look like sand. What sucks is I'm probably gonna have to do this across the whole painting, so there'll be a lot of carpal tunnel going on, but we'll get there. So I've got a very, very, very transparent paint here, so I could build these layers up over multiple passes. And it just creates such this really neat texture. I always love when my paintings have a texture that nobody really can quite tell how I did it, aside from you guys who are watching me do it. But like that's why I don't like using texture, like certain effects and stuff. I like it to kind of be like organic, you know. Like I'll never make that texture again. It's only a one-off thing. Hater says, how are the Patreon tutorials? Actually, Hater, this is one of the Patreon tutorials. I decided to go ahead and stream a portion of it. See, the thing is when we set out to do this tutorial, I thought it would take a few days, and it's really going to take, like, I don't even know how many hours. This is going to be probably the most in-depth painting I've ever done. And so instead of making a straightforward tutorial for it, we are doing a... basically, I'm painting the whole thing. We're filming all of it. So even when I'm not live streaming, we have the camera on, and then the whole thing is being filmed, and I'm going to talk over it and pretty much talk my thought process so that you guys understand each piece of the process. And because it's taking so long, Hater, that's why we're doing these live streams and during the process. It's because I don't want to leave you guys hanging and keep saying, you know, hey, I got a tutorial coming, and you guys think that I'm kind of blowing it off. It's just that it's going to take so long to build that tutorial that I want to let you guys kind of come along for the ride. So that's what we're doing today. So and a Hater, if you're just joining, all my other tutorials that I do after this is going to be the last one that I do that's this in depth. The rest of my tutorials are going to be pretty short and sweet. Just because of this reason, it's near impossible for me to keep up with my schedule if every tutorial that I do is a painting like this. I'm still going to do these paintings though and live stream them. I just won't include them on my tutorials. They'll just be something I share while I live stream. But again, I will talk the whole process, so it will be a full tutorial. Just it's not something that I pre-designed. Like if I was teaching a class right now, and I often do, what I would have my students doing right now is these little baby circles. Building texture. So if you guys want to know what, like even in class, if this was a classroom environment, I would have everybody building textures freehand and learning how to control their paint that way. A lot of my classes that I teach in person are freehand based classes. In fact, all of them are that way. I was saying earlier, I don't know how I really became a freehand artist. I think I just, over time, became more comfortable with just distilling my process down to very, very simple tools. As far as the airbrush is concerned. So yeah, this is just circle, 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 just keeping the paint moving. And it's really building, I don't know if it's showing up on camera that well, but it's really building a nice texture under here. So these are this. I have a different texture here, so I'm using the same circles, but I'm making more of a figure 8 motion because it's this is actually the rock that she's sitting on. So I'm changing up the texture quite a bit, just making it a little wider, a little thicker. So because instead of sand, which is all those little baby circles, this is rock, so it's large circles. Well, figure 8s, I guess. So Hater says he mainly does freehand as well. That's the exact same reason, I think, Hater. I think I just don't, I used to have, like, when I would paint, I would have like 50 stencils. I'd have all kinds of paint. I'd have razor blades everywhere, constantly sharpening them, and all these different tools. And then over time, I just started kind of losing them or getting rid of them and then just never replacing them. And then eventually I have nothing. And now it's just an airbrush. Very, very minimal. I used to work in a giant body shop, and I did all this custom paint and stuff, and now I'm very, very, I guess, minimalist is the word. Thanks, Hater. I appreciate it. No, I'll stick around for sure, man. Like I said, now that we have our own studio and our own space and all that, it's a lot easier for me to do this. And it'll develop over the months and years, and my content will change and evolve. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out and supporting. We're definitely still going to keep doing the paint parties. Everybody seems to like that. Yeah. I always have money for a beer. Yeah. Well, after this cleanse, we're definitely going to get back into the beer. Like I was saying earlier, I think the quarantine had us drinking so much that we just needed a little bit of a break. Need to let our body chill out for a while. So right here on this side, that she's laying on a rock, and there's tons of moss and things on the rock. So I'm trying to create that underlying texture. It's very, very, very organic. Well, I guess this is the definition of the word organic now. Moss on a wet rock. Hater, I'm in California all the time. I'm always at Coast Airbrush. There's a tattoo studio that I work at where everybody's, Mondo's an airbrush artist, the owner of the tattoo studio. His name's Franco Vescovi. He's an airbrush artist. So yeah, we're in California all the time, man. Where are you? Are you Southern California, Northern, Central? In fact, I was just talking to my buddy Mondo last night, and we were talking about how I need to get my ass back out there. You want to see some of Faith's artwork? Where is Faith? I think Faith are you here?
Yes.
David wanted to see some of your artwork. I think you got your rose behind me. Oh, and your pinstriping. So Faith does a lot of pinstriping, and she does some oil painting. Good job. Alex is learning how to brush his hair.
I don't know where the camera is.
Right here, I got it. Here's a rose that Faith is working on, or is finished with. So that's an oil painting. I don't know how well that shows up.
You have to. That's why I was gonna hold it in front of the camera.
Oh, well, it'll be out of focus. Yeah, you have to put it right here.
Well, then tilt it towards this
Like
way.
this?
Tilt the right side towards me.
Like this?
Yeah, but keep going.
Are we seeing it? Are we seeing it? Oh. Anyway. Show them your pinstriping. So Faith has this candlestick here, or candle holder. Hopefully that shows up. See all that pinstriping? She's really, really good. Let's see how well that shows up. So Faith finds different objects and buys them, and she pinstripes them. She's really great. Hater, you say you're in Northern? Pelican Bay State Prison. Well, I tell you what, Hater, I tattoo at a place called when I'm in town anyway. When I'm in California, called Vatican Studios in Lake Forest, California. So if you are able to make it down there, I haven't been. There's a tattoo convention in Northern California, up by the lake. What's it called? What is that? I forget. There's a tattoo convention in Northern California that we do also. So I'll let you know if we're ever in the area. No idea. Sounds like what? Does it show up on camera? Or probably people can't hear it. There's some music playing in the background. That's pretty, pretty awful. We have to use this like royalty-free music or whatever, or like, so that we don't get demonetized. And sometimes it's kind of awful. You can send me some of your in INB. You can send it if you go to where should they send their artwork, Faith, if they wanted me to look at it?
I guess your Ryan Townsend tattoo.
So if you go to Gmail, RyanTownsendTattoo@gmail.com. If you want to send me some of your work, I'd be happy to look at it. We need to get like a Twitter or something so people can tag me. Or actually, if you go on Instagram, it's Instagram. What is it? @ Ryan Townsend Tattoo on Instagram. I'm on there all the time, and if you tag me in your artwork, I can definitely see it. Just make sure when you tag me or leave me a comment and let me know like who you are here on YouTube, so I know who's tagging me. But I'd love to see you guys' artwork. If you want, I can even look at it here live on the stream. I'll tell you what, if you go on Instagram right now and you tag me in your artwork, I'll pull it up on my phone and we'll look at it, or on my tablet. You say a Discord page? I've never done Discord before. That is something I was wanting to learn. How does that work? Discord? I think that's like, maybe I have done it. It's where it's like a group chat, right?
Yeah.
Would that work on YouTube? Can you do Discord on YouTube? No, I'd be happy to do a Discord. That'd be fun. Have you guys on? We can talk live. So my approach to this painting is to do all of the organic stuff first before I do the portrait, because I know that once I do the portrait, I'm going to be like probably less interested because this stuff is kind of more daunting And so I figure if I do all of this stuff first, then I'm more excited by the time I get to the portrait because it's like I earned the cool part of the painting. So that's my idea of why I'm working all the way around it first, and then I'll do the middle last, so I don't kind of lose momentum. Yeah, I'll do Discord, guys. I'll set that up. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do another stream on Sunday. If you guys join me Sunday, I'll try to see if there's a way I could do a Discord or something. If you guys follow me on Instagram, or Patreon or Instagram, I'll post my Discord up once I figure it out. Looks like somebody. Here we go. Cool. Sorry, it's kind of hard when I'm talking. I kind of feel like I don't make sense half the time when I'm painting and talking at the same time. Using the left and right brain at the same time. Yeah, I agree that it would be fun. It'd be fun to just kind of talk art. Okay, I can definitely talk art all night long. It is a little bit more difficult when you're live streaming like this to always have a fresh topic to bring up or on hand. That's why I kind of depend on the comments, guys. I depend on your comments to help lead the conversation. Is this still in frame down here? No, I think I fell out of frame with where I am. I'm trying to stay in frame right now. Alright. No, I'm good. You don't have to move it down.
Did you start laundry earlier?
No.
You did? Oh, that's right. Well, I know mine brought closure, but I don't know if it did.
What's up, Dennis? So Hater says it's interesting to see different artist perspectives on airbrushing. He subscribed, mainly freehand, and others who drew reliant upon stencils all achieve beautiful results. Yeah, I think everybody should use any technique that you want, that you enjoy. Dennis says, how much of that chocolate-covered cherry did I have? I only had the one drink last time. I had the one beer, but I will say that one beer that I had, I was definitely feeling it. That's a strong, strong beer. I think it's like 13% alcohol. And I only had, one little solo cup, half full of it. But it was enough. For those of you that know me, you guys know I like to drink, especially if you've hung out with me. I'm usually the last man standing at talking somebody's ear off about something. And then I wake up the next morning going, did I just make a fool of myself? Fuck it. Or more worried about, did I bore somebody or like keep them talking for too long? Like I get real self-conscious where I'm like, man, did I like hijack that person for the night and talk their ear off? Because when I get on certain topics, I just can't shut up. Blessing and a curse. Luckily, I've been able to meet a lot of cool people doing that. I feel like I interrogate people a lot when I drink. Like I'll like ask them their whole life story. I get fascinated by it. Hater says, challenge accepted. Are you 8 shots in right now, Hater?
What?
Oh, Hater's like agreeing, like, where you have a lot of drinks and you hang out, and then the next morning you're like, how bad was I? Did I piss you off? Did I piss everybody off? Yeah, I'm definitely that way. I've gotten better, maybe. I don't know. I've finally gotten to a point where I don't really, like, I don't get that. I'm kind of like I am who I am, you know, so take it or leave it. I used to be a lot more, like, down on myself, where I'd be like, not just when I drink, but just in general, where I would be so concerned about how people took me or whether they liked me or not, or first impressions, and it would really, like, it would prevent me from having a good time, because I would be like, I don't know, just like, I guess I would get kind of like panic attacks from like thinking that maybe I upset somebody or whatever, and now I'm kind of like, I am who I am, either you like me or you don't, you know. I try to be a good person or whatever, you know. But I try not to judge people too much either. Like, I don't know, live and let live kind of personality. So I always get people that always like, they'll say things like, am I boring you or is this interesting? I always am like, no, you're not boring me. Like, I'm cool. Especially tattooing, man. I get to have so many conversations with so many different people. And I definitely practice, like, trying not to be judgmental to anyone for any reason. Like, because I hear so many people and they tell me everybody has these different stories about their life and what they're interested in and what they're into, and I just keep a, kind of, I guess like a therapist would, where it's just like nothing phases me. I don't think you're a weirdo. And a lot of people think they're weirdos for things that are completely normal and not weird at all. Hater says it's a good way to thin out real life friends from fake ones. Get bad morning anxiety. Exactly. Your real friends, they'll just give you shit and move on. But I don't know. I think when I started in this industry, especially when I started kind of making a name for myself in the industry, I had a lot of real bad anxiety about first impressions. I can't tell you how many like sleepless nights and awful mornings I had just, because I'd meet somebody that was very important to me and maybe I talked their ear off, even sober, talking their ear off, and then the next day I wake up just like super bad anxiety. But I think I've gotten over it. Like, I don't even care anymore. It's freeing. The moment I realized I didn't care, or the moment I freed myself from that, and of course I still care a lot, but I try to control it and curb it, and it's almost like I could breathe again, kind of being more comfortable in my own skin. I felt a lot of anxiety and pressure when I started getting attention with the airbrushing. A lot. And it's funny because I didn't even make the YouTube channel for attention. Like, I just made it because it was something I did. Like, I didn't know anyone would watch it. So when I started getting attention, it was, I don't know, it was weird. It was, I enjoyed it and I appreciated it, but at the same time, it gave me anxiety. Like, I would have people comment. This is true. Like, I had this one video I made probably 4 or 5 years ago, and the purpose of the video was I thought that a lot of people had. I think that the difference between a successful artist and maybe a less successful artist is motivation and creating goals for yourself. Like, when I first started airbrushing, I created this goal for myself. Like, I wanted to be at a certain level in 5 years. And so I reached that goal. And then I decided to make a new 5-year goal. Like, I want to be tattooing at this level in 5 years. And I reached that goal. And pretty much I made a video talking about that. And again, I'm like very self-conscious. And the first comment on that video was somebody saying something like, Ryan, you should just stick to airbrushing, basically, and not talk about these types of things. And at the time, I thought, how much more airbrushing can I teach? I teach so much airbrushing. What's more valuable than just straight, this is the paint that I use, this is the airbrush that I use. And I felt like having a good headspace was the more valuable thing, and setting proper goals. And when I made that video, like I said, that first response was so negative that I immediately took it down, and I actually didn't make any more videos after that. I just thought, screw it, like, I don't know. But yeah, at the time that I made that video, I had real bad anxiety at that specific time. And I felt real good about the video too. That was another thing, because I thought I was kind of saying something that was useful, because it was useful to me. I agree. It's funny that you say that, hater, because your name is Hater. But yeah, a lot of people can be haters, and it took me a while to learn that. That, like, if you're comfortable with yourself and you're comfortable with where you are, you don't have time or even the ambition to hate on somebody else for what they're doing. Like, if you're happy with yourself, then why would you spend any energy worried about what someone else is doing or saying? That's why, like, when I'm around other artists, especially young artists, because some young artists tend to be a little on the cocky side, and it doesn't bother me at all. I understand that's where they are in their artistic journey, and I try to make them feel comfortable with that. Like, I try to let everyone know that, like, you know, I don't judge you based on those types of things. I do my best not to, anyway. And if I do catch myself being judgmental, I try to catch it. I try to catch it and kind of erase it. Although there are a few people I feel like have, I don't know, overstayed that welcome. In which case, I just move on with my life. Oh, your last name is Atir? How do you say it? Like, how would you pronounce that? I guess you can't type how you pronounce it. Atir? Atir? I don't know how to say that. I'll bet you pronounce it just like it's spelled, huh? Adder? I don't know. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name. I hate saying people's name on here because I feel like I'm butchering their name. I even say that to people all the time when they are worried. I always tell people haters gonna hate, because that's like such a true statement. That's what haters do. They hate. They hate. It doesn't matter what you're doing. They're just gonna hate on you and shit on you, because I guess they're jealous of what you're doing or whatever. I think in the beginning I thought I could, like, please everyone, but you just can't. Because adder's gonna at. Ater. Oh, so it's just like it sounds. Ater. Okay, cool. Well, I wouldn't say that. I don't like when people say things like that. Don't say you suck at something. I know you're just saying that. You're just humbling, but you're right. You just have to keep grinding, man. You just have to keep at it. I think setting goals for yourself is very valuable. Like short-term goals and long-term goals, and break them down. Like, I always try to set my goals as in, like, I go 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and I try to, like, so where do I want to be in 10 years, and then where do I want to be in 5 years, and where do I want to be in 1 year or 1 month? And if you set those little miniature goals, you get little miniature successes, and it kind of helps you a lot. But if you kind of go kind of aimless through it, it's hard to kind of hit those goals or get anywhere for that matter. So far, I feel like I say I, and now I'm part of a we, like there's a whole group of us that are reaching goals. Do a pretty good job at it by setting just these little mini successes and not let like many failures deter us from those, keep aiming towards it. So this is the part where I'll start like breaking down like minor details. And I don't think I should get too minor in my details yet because there's so many layers left. But like in the hair here, like I'll take and find some of these little minor shapes in here. Which can be really fun because this is where you kind of work on the micro scale as opposed to the macro or the, you kind of zoom in. And you find these little minor details. If you try to find these minor details right off the bat, it can get really confusing and daunting, and so it's better to like just wait till you kind of get there. Like, I mean, you can detail most paintings to death, and it just keeps improving on it. So INB2 or 42 says he's been doing a drawing a day for many years, even if it's a doodle on a napkin. Yeah, I've actually been trying to have more discipline when it comes to that. I know our apprentice here, Alex. He's been working really hard. He's been inspiring me to try. Like, he makes me feel lazy. He draws so much. But yeah, I would love to kind of stick to that. I'm kind of using a little bit of this live streaming is kind of doing that for me. It's kind of keeping me focused on artwork, and to where like if I wasn't going to live stream and I didn't commit myself to doing it, I would probably ignore my paintings for way too long. And because I've kind of committed myself to sharing my work online, it keeps me from just not working on it at all. I mean, it's easy to like get off of work or at the end of the day just go like, well, I'm gonna go home and watch TV and pass out. Um, Next thing you know, it's a month later and you haven't even touched your painting, you know? So by me just saying, you know, I'm flipping on this computer, it keeps me on it. And I've never done like that fine art stuff, and I'm thinking maybe that's a direction I want to go as far as um, this is concerned right here. You know, doing the live streams and whatnot. I've always had mixed feelings about the fine art scene because I feel like it can get pretentious, and I feel like sometimes it's more of a what's the word, like a sales pitch than anything. Like people convince you why their art is good, and they're just good salesmen, I guess. And so I've always kind of, but you know, I'll give it a try. My first taste of being a fine artist was not a good one. I felt it was very, very pretentious, in a bad way. So, but that was just one place. It was one experience. So, I feel like it's time to go ahead and revisit it, and maybe even just control it myself by using our shop and our studio and where we are, and we present our artwork the way we want it to be presented, and don't have to worry about any of that, I guess, ego or anything. Oh, thanks, Mellow Red Rose. Thank you very much. So what do you guys think about live streaming these days? This is something that is so new. It's like, how often do you see an artist and you have no clue how they are in real life, right? And you have no clue what it took. Like you might see a recording of their artwork, but do you see them? Do you see their personality? And it's almost like you kind of make that up in your own head when you're a fan of art. But now with live streaming, artists like me, we can just turn on a camera and you just see the real version of what's going on. And I don't know. I feel like that's going to do something to change art, whether for good or worse. I have no idea, but it's a pretty neat experiment. That's why I've kind of committed to doing these live streams with a more like if I'm drinking and goofing off, then that's the version of me you're gonna get. If I'm in kind of a chill ass mood, then you'll get that version of me. If I'm hanging out with my friends, you'll get that version of me, and kind of be unapologetic for it. I've kind of decided to just let you guys just see what's going down, and of course answer questions about artwork as well. You know, like being kind of an open book about my thoughts and process. And to tell you the truth, I actually have never seen I know there's plenty of other artists that do this, but I haven't seen any of theirs yet. So I guess our way of doing this is our way. Yet. I haven't been influenced yet by any of the other streamers. Although I do watch the video game streamers. There's a streamer called Ryukar that I like to watch a lot. He streams he plays Mario Maker, and I don't know why. Maybe because I'm nostalgic to Mario from when I was a kid. But yeah, I love watching this guy play Super Mario or Mario Maker. Which is probably a little more exciting than watching a guy paint, because, or maybe it's not, I don't know. I think if I was watching one of my favorite artists paint, I think I would be totally entertained. In fact, that's what I used to do. I learned a lot when I would go to the Airbrush getaways. I remember specifically watching Javier Soto paint, just being like just floored by it. Same with Cory St. Clair and Kiwi Terry. I remember watching them paint. Kiwi especially. I remember he was doing... Kiwi was painting a, it was, what was it? I think it was a skull or something, and it had filigree kind of etched into it. And I remember watching him do it and how steady his hand was and how much control he had and being just completely, like, floored by it. And I remember telling him about that, and he's such a humble dude, and he was like, me? No, I'm not that good. He always says that. And I'm like, yes, you are, dude. We wouldn't be doing this if you were that. He's always talking about how he's not that good or whatever. Oh, I'm not that, or I'm not this. I'm like, dude, you are. Like, your work is amazing. But yeah, I could watch those guys paint for hours and never get bored of it. So Cory is streaming his Venom right now? I've seen his little cuts of him working on Venom, like on Instagram, but I didn't know he was streaming it. That's cool. Yeah, I still keep in touch with Cory quite a bit. We talk at least once a week. But yeah, I knew he was streaming that, or I knew he was filming the Venom, but I didn't know he was streaming it. Yeah, that thing's sick. That dude's still... I'm very thankful to have a friend like him. He's probably one of the biggest influences on me artistically, or at least when it comes to airbrushing. I remember when I first started kind of, getting better at airbrushing, and people taking notice, I always wanted to make sure everyone knew that, like, I never wanted to take anything from Cory and then claim it as my own. So I always tell Cory that. I'm like, I always shout him out anytime I can, because he was such an influence on me in the beginning. INB says he's got Kiwi Terry's videos and Javier's videos. Javier is a cool dude. There's a guy that needs to stream. I don't know if he's streaming, but he definitely needs to. He's got such a neat personality. He's a fun dude. Same with Kiwi. I know Javier comes down here to Florida every once in a while, so maybe if he ever is around, I'll throw him on one of these streams with me. Yeah. It's funny. I think the control with me and Cory, I think our style comes from maybe lack of control. I mean, I can't speak for Cory, but I know my style comes from a lack of control. That's why we're always making these little jerky textures all the time. Well, at least I am. But I'm thankful for that lack of control, because I think it adds something to the painting that is very unique. Like, if you think of it like a signature, nobody will move their hand the way that I move my hand. Hater, look at you, man. Hater with another super chat, $5. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. But when I get the super chats, it throws my brain off a little bit. What was I saying? I don't know. Oh, being thankful for my lack of hand control or whatever. When you do all these little minor details, you can see the signature of the artist in the way that they move their hand. And there's so many different airbrush artists. If I go and this happens a lot because I go to SEMA every year, and we'll have all the airbrush artists with our artwork all plastered on the walls, and I can, pretty accurately point out every artist without looking at any signatures and know which one is which, if I'm familiar with their work, of course. Oh, you say Cory was probably testing things out? Yeah, he probably was. Me and him have talked quite a bit about streaming. So as soon as I started doing this, I actually talked to Cory about it. And I was trying to talk him into doing it. And I know he's definitely interested, and he's definitely trying to get into it, but he's got to learn, learn how it all works. Like, the only reason I'm even capable of doing it is because Alex studied it and helped us set it all up. Well, he didn't just help set it up, he set it all up. Yeah, super sicko. He's lack of control. That's a very literal explanation for how my style got. When I first started airbrushing, so the first person that I ever saw really, I was familiar with airbrushing because I grew up in a body shop, and I actually used to do like these airbrush tattoos at theme parks, but it wasn't real airbrushing. It was just taking a stencil, spraying through it, and then saying, here's your tattoo, move on. But so I didn't really learn trigger control or anything, but the first person I ever saw with real trigger control that really knew what they were doing, there was a guy named Scott Van Eck, and then there was another guy named Jeff Thornton. And I remember when I saw those two guys doing that, I was absolutely ultra intimidated by them. And I thought, like, Hater, look at you. Thank you so much, Hater, with another super chat. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate that. Dude, you've already $54, man. Thank you so much. Lack of donating control. I see that. Well, thank you so much. You throw me off, buddy. What was I saying? Oh, I was talking about Jeff Thornton and Scott Van Eck and being super intimidated by their trigger control. And so when I actually started airbrushing, I pretty much decided I will never have good trigger control. And so I thought, how do I compensate for that? Because I had such of a lack of confidence in myself and my ability to use an airbrush that I was trying to come up with a way to use an airbrush that didn't require me to actually know how to airbrush, if that makes sense. And now I do know how to airbrush, but my style is still there. The style that I developed as kind of a compensation. Like being very, very intimidated by people. But now I know that I have trigger control because, like, often I teach classes, and you never really know that you have real trigger control, I think, until you're around people that just started. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. It is hard to learn. It's kind of a hard thing to pick up on. Because I think what happened is over the years of me just using an airbrush and faking it, pretending I knew what I was doing, I eventually knew what I was doing. Kind of learned without learning, or didn't know I was learning anyway. I still can't do like a proper dagger stroke. Like if I'm around a t-shirt artist, man, they murder me when it comes to trigger control. I actually didn't realize that the moves that Cory does and the moves that I do with an airbrush were difficult until I started teaching it. and then realizing that people were having a hard time with it. And I'd never thought of it as a very difficult move. So now when I teach it, I'm a little more, I guess the word might be patient or understanding when people are having a hard time with the hand movements. Just simply because so many people have had a hard time with it. I guess I always assumed it was easy. So, yeah, I guess I was wrong. Well, thank you, Super Sicko. Is that a 0.18 micron? I actually don't ever really pay attention to the size of it. I can tell you the model number though. It's an Iwata CMC Plus, but I've modified it by adding the newer trigger to it because this is an older airbrush. But I added the newer flat trigger to it, and what else did I do? I think that's it. Yeah, that's the only modification. But if you buy a new one of these, you're going to get that trigger anyway. I'm going to move this tablet so I can fill in all this texture. I wonder if does the texture show up on camera, guys? Can you see all that? I actually just got a new video, or what is it, a capture card, so we can set up a second camera. And I think we're going to try to set up a second camera by the next stream, possibly. So you guys can see different angles of what I'm doing. But I'm pretty happy with this texture right now. It's pretty neat. And like I said again, it's just circle, 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 circle. Very, very transparent. It definitely looks like sand. That's incredible. Using Wicked illustration colors. Yes, I'm actually not using Wicked. I'm using Createx illustration colors. So it's still Createx, but it's not Wicked, the Wicked line. It's just the illustration line. Oh, that's what you're asking. What was it, Wicked or illustration? Yeah, it's illustration. Man, I hope you guys can see that. I remember when I started this earlier today, I was like, how am I going to get that sand texture? Because I've never done anything like that before, but these little circles are really, really working. What's that? Do you want to zoom into it? Can you zoom into it? So Alex is going to try to zoom into this little area right here and see if you guys can pick up on that sand texture.
Just for a minute or the whole?
Yeah, just for a second so they can see what it looks like. Yeah, it's a little harsh on the camera, right? But in person, it's a lot less. What I'm gonna do, I think, is add. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I'll add layers to it so it starts to all kind of blend together like muddy sand. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it definitely looks a little harsh on camera, but I think it'll be cool.
What do you mean harsh?
Like it looks softer in real life, but
Um,
I think the camera is compensating for the contrast a little bit. Cool. You can back out of it again now. What am I painting on? This is a piece of sheet metal. This is a paint panel, like an airbrush panel that you can get from coastairbrush.com. I got it I got it when I was in California from Coast Airbrush. It's an 18 by 24 panel. They're double-sided. It's black on one side, white on the other. I actually did another painting on the back side, but we kind of abandoned the painting, and now I'm doing this one on this side. Thank you. AWOL? Hater asked if I'd ever be into... Yeah, I actually do take quite a bit of requests. It's just I can only do one at a time, so it makes it look like I'm ignoring people, but I'm really not. I'm just doing one request at a time. Can you donate if you're not in the U.S.? What, you mean like with Super Chat? I don't know. You can click the Super Chat button, if that's what you're asking. I think people super chat from all over the world, actually. It's kind of universal, like PayPal. This is kind of fun. It's like doing like a stipple painting or a stipple drawing where you just kind of build. Thank you, Mr. Tony. So you guys can kind of see now one of my reasons for doing the freehand stuff is just the opportunities like this to kind of just create a unique texture that is only a one-time deal. Like, it's only really useful right now. I'm sure it'll be useful in other ways, but I've never done it like this before, that's for sure. Thanks, Dennis. All is very well. We're having a great day today. We went and bought a new toilet for the bathroom. So that was fun. So we're going to install that a little bit later. Hopefully my head's not too much in the frame there. You guys don't want to see the back of my head. Would you believe I've done pretty much all of this part of the painting with one cap full of ink, or one, ink, I keep saying ink, paint. So I haven't filled this up again for pretty much this whole section of the painting. This is one of those parts of the painting, though, when I saw it in the reference, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's working. That's working pretty good. So if you guys can't make it out what I'm doing, it's like suds that are sitting on the water that is retreated back into the ocean. So it's like the the Seafoam. There's even shadows of the Seafoam that I'm starting to see now that are cast onto the sand. Then it said if you put my reference in the printer, my painting would come out. Well, hopefully by the time I'm done, that won't be the story. Hopefully it's something very, very unique. I will say, whenever I make my work look too realistic, I always want to back off of it a little bit. I don't want to go too real, even though I think I always do. It's kind of one of those blessing and a curse things. Like, I want to still take some freedoms, but yet I stick to the reference pretty closely all the time. Wow, that's neat. I'll tell you one thing that since I've gotten older with painting, I've definitely started to appreciate some of the stuff that used to kind of wear me out. Like I would ignore this type of texture before. I would just paint the girl and then blur everything out because I didn't care to do any of that background stuff. But now I'm kind of getting to where I learned to kind of appreciate the subtleties in the background. Like the subject matter's cool, but when you can look in the background and think like, man, look at all that going on back there. You know, that's kind of neat. Kind of one of those things only real art, I guess an artist would appreciate kind of things. What's up, Tony? You say, will I darken the value? Yeah, this one's going to be actually a full color piece by the time I'm done. So the answer is yes, I will darken the value. In fact, I'm going to change it completely. Right now I'm building a texture under the painting, and with each layer, the texture is going to be coming out more and more and more and more. So, believe it or not, this is not the finished version of what I'm doing. This is just the underpainting. What's up, Haley? You want to come say hi to everyone? No? Okay. Haley's one of the artists here at the shop. Okay, let's answer some questions here. What do I find most difficult to paint? I don't know. Probably this. All this moss and all this water. I wouldn't say necessarily difficult. maybe that's not the right word, but it's you definitely have to put your mind in a different place. You have to be willing to take your time. So this is definitely, I would say, one of the most challenging things I've had to paint, or maybe the most mentally, yeah, I don't know. I definitely have to work for it a lot more mentally. Painting from your, I think the hardest thing to paint is from your head, is out of your imagination. That's to me, that's the most difficult thing to paint. Especially when you kind of expect yourself to be at a certain, you expect a certain performance out of yourself, and if you do something that isn't that good, I tend to be pretty hard on myself, and I never show it to anyone, and I kind of throw it away. Instead of being okay with just whatever it is that I did. But anyway, let's see. We got 8:23. Guys, I'm going to go till 8:30, and then we're going to call it a night. So we've got about, 7 or 8 more minutes left. What's that, Faith? Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Sorry. So I think on the next stream, I'm going to work on the actual mermaid herself. That'll be Sunday. So I'm going to do my first stream will be a private session, a closed session for the patrons on Patreon. And then after that, I'm going to do an open session, which is going to be kind of like this, more of a paint party kind of version of it. And we're going to work on the mermaid herself. So if you want to know why we do the closed session, that's so I can talk about a lot more technical stuff. So if you're an artist that's having problems with a specific thing, like maybe your airbrush isn't spraying that well, or maybe you want some advice on how to mix your paint, or on how do you do trigger control drills, or anything artistically, like just how to draw or good references, or maybe you're having spitting issues with your airbrush, anything at all. I do those closed streams to address those questions, and that's through Patreon. So if you're one of my patrons, then you get to have access to that, the closed stream. So you could post anything up, like somebody might say, my airbrush trigger is stuck and I can't figure out how to make it flow better, and I address those types of problems. Or how do you do the textures, or whatever. That's what that's for. And then after that's done, then we switch to this open stream, which is kind of like it is today. Sometimes we're drinking and having a good time. Sometimes we're kind of hanging out like we did today. It's all different types of things, but it's more open to everyone. So so that is going to happen Sunday. And again, we're going to work on the mermaid and her skin tone, which a lot of that I'll probably save for the. I'm not going to do all the skin tone on the live stream, just so I can do some of the more tutorial stuff, which is going to have better camera views and better camera angles, and I'll talk more about theory, and that's going to come out in the Patreon live stream as well. So it's more of an academic breakdown of what I'm doing. I definitely want to start focusing my streams until I'm done on the mermaid. That way I know that I finish it, because I got to get this finished, and so we'll work on this quite a bit. And then when this is done, I've got a portrait lined up that I have to do, and then a few other things, and I'll start taking requests. So if there's something you guys want to see me paint, I know I have to paint. I'm going to do a painting like a vehicle, like a car. and then a few other things. So you want to know if the flesh tone goes all muddy brown over green? No, it doesn't. I'll show you how I do it. I probably approach my skin tones and my color way different than most people do. Because if you think about it, most flesh tones are, a lot of them have a little bit of brown in them. So I'm using the green to kind of build an undertone. And when I put the reds on top of them, so I use a vibrant red, I'm anticipating that brown shift. Plus I'm also going to build up with white and kind of just play with shifting the colors around. So using green on the bottom to muddy up the colors is something I'm going to do intentionally. So that'll be interesting to see. It's also a little experimental, but I have it in my head pretty sorted out. So you guys can watch me go through that process. Did I ever talk to my friend about the gold brush? He did say that he'd be willing to gold plate your brushes for you. So if you guys, I'll tell you what, I'll talk to him between now and Sunday. And if he says it's okay, I'll share his information if you guys want to send your gold brush out to him. Oh, thank you. Hey, guys, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, all those good things. That way you'll be notified when we go live again. Again, whenever I get free time, if I have some time to spend on the painting, I'm just going to go live with it. So if you want to know when that happens, because it'll be kind of off schedule, hit the bell so you get that notification. Yeah, and human skin tone does have green. You're right. So basically, my theory here, in case you want to know, is, yeah, it's exactly. So Mr. Tony says the old masters of old glazed over green. That's exactly what I'm doing. It was just something I thought up. I've been shifting colors around a lot lately, where I pretty much, my old process was I would try to paint exactly with the color that I was using and use it exactly the way it came out of the bottle or how I mixed it. My new process, I shift the colors around at will. And that's kind of the same as using a layering process where I want my colors to, what's the word? I want to shift them around. I want to play with them. So I don't worry about things getting muddy because I know how to bring them back. And I kind of like the creative process in the sense that I get a result that's different every time. It's kind of like how an oil painter would do, where it's like, it's not, you kind of play on the canvas with the color and you let it shift and you let it move around and you let kind of interesting things happen with it. And so that's my goal here. And that's why I'm using a green undertone. And also, I know you guys were talking about Discord. So I'm going to try to, I think Discord's the one where you can group talk. And once I figure out how to set that all up, I'd love to have you guys all on Discord and we can talk art together and I can actually see your faces and hear your voices and we'll have a good time with that. And hopefully, I don't know, if there's a way to record that and put that on YouTube, I'll do that as well. Do I get any money from Coast Airbrush for directing you there? No, I don't. We did talk about, I know Coast Airbrush is, so I called Dave when I first was making all this at Coast Airbrush and I told him that a lot of you guys are always asking what kind of tools that I use, like what kind of airbrush do I use, what kind of hose do I use, what kind of this and that and the other that I use. And I told Dave, I was asking him if he would, if he'd create like a package that, so I could just tell you guys, hey, go to coastairbrush.com. You'll find my little page and you'll see all the stuff that I use. And he did offer to create like basically a starter kit of the different tools that I use. And I don't get a kickback for you guys just going to Costa Airbrush. He did, however, offer for me to get a small percentage if you guys were to buy my kit. We have, he says the kit's ready to go and ready to post, but we don't have that fully ready, so I haven't been advertising it. But the short answer is technically no, I don't get any money if you go to Coast Airbrush. They're just friends of mine. We've known them for many years, and I support the industry, and they support the industry. So David Lawrence says, hey, before you go, after the lockdown, he's moving from UK to Vietnam. Any problems bringing a compressor on the flight? I've actually never brought an air compressor on a flight before. If your air compressor has oil in it, I wouldn't try it. But if you have an oilless compressor, I'm sure you could pack it up just fine as long as it's underweight. But I would definitely check it. I wouldn't carry it on for sure. Let's see. Yeah, again, I do use glazing techniques. It's what's funny is I never learned to oil paint. Like I did a little bit of oil painting when I was a kid, but it's funny how much of my technique, like I didn't know this till I was painting next to a guy named Steve Gibson who uses a lot of oil painting techniques. And I had no idea that the technique that I was using had its roots in oil painting. It was just something that I did and I picked it up over the years. Some of it I made up on my own. Others of it I probably picked it up watching other people paint without realizing I was picking it up. And I was talking to Steve Gibson about the process one time, and he was explaining to me that it was the old masters that painted that way. And I looked it up, and I use the same technique the old masters do, which is kind of interesting. And I pick things up everywhere I go, so I don't really even ever know what I invent in my own brain or what I pick up from other people because I'm constantly observing at all times, and it's kind of unfiltered going into my head. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'll let you go. Don't forget, hit the bell, like button, all that good stuff. It's 8:33, and I'm gonna go get some dinner. So y'all have a good evening, and we'll see you Sunday. Take care.